So now we will pivot to the Q&A segment. We have most of our panelist speakers with us still on the line. Alexandra from COGEN Europe sends her apologies, but she had to jump into another webinar this afternoon. But I will try my best to answer any questions that may arise regarding Europe. I'm happy to say that we've been efficient this afternoon and have been already answering many of the questions online. But we do have one for you, Newton, responding to your presentation. So I'll just read it out to you. You could probably see it as well. But are there any financial subsidies by the state for CHP projects in Brazil? And then the second question is, are there any trends recorded in regards to LPG in Brazil?
Good, thank you very much for the question. Yes, we have a subsidy in the transmission systems where we only pay the CHP exporter. When he's exporting electricity to the grid, he only pays 50% of the transmission and distribution grid taxes. They only pay 50% of it. And when you think about transmission Brazil, out of your electric bill, you pay around 12% of the transmission distribution costs. No, 12% only transmission and around 18% distribution costs. And the rest is generation itself, and then the taxes, EVA taxes. So 50% out of these 12% transmission, what we call TUSE, Tarifa de Uso do Sistema de Transmissão, transmission system use tariff. The cogeneration, they only pay 50%. And the next part of the question was
trends related to LPG in Brazil.
LPG?
Yes.
Beg your pardon?
Liquefied petroleum gas.
I didn't get it.
Do you, off the top of your head, do you have any information regarding trends regarding liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, in Brazil?
Oh, okay. We see trends where biogas, biomethane will be, in addition to natural gas distribution systems, they will be swapped, as I said. The LNG, on the other hand, is also approaching our coast, bringing gas to a variety of industrial customers. 70%, around 50% of our natural gas production offshore is still pumped back to produce more oil. And that's our trend. LPG stands for
liquefied petroleum gas.
Okay, no, we are not aware of the liquefied petroleum gas out of our offshore production. What we have what we call Route 1, Route 2, and Route 3 are in installation. 1 and 2 are already running, and Route 3 is another route bringing around 200 miles away in our offshore coast, bringing gas to the coast. And we have an additional Route 4 in construction for a private distribution system. They are bringing natural gas, but in gas, not in the liquefied manner. We do have around 5 LNG liquefied gas absorbers or installations to receive liquefied natural gas from outside countries, but not LPG being developed in the country nowadays.
Okay, thank you, Newton. We still have about 15 minutes for Q&A. Just to remind everyone, because there were quite a few questions on the Q&A chat function, there were questions regarding the slides. So once we have received all the slides from the different speakers, panelists, we will make everything available online via the CWC website. And at that point, we will also inform all the participants who registered for the webinar that the information is available. And as you've seen, this webinar is being recorded as well, so there'll be an opportunity to review the presentations as well as the exchanges that we're having now with the different speakers. So,
Hans, could I add something to what David Jones said about the situation in the United States?
Yes, please, David, go ahead.
I just want to, he mentioned the incentives that have recently been adopted as part of the Inflation Reduction Act, the tax incentives for hydrogen. I just wanted to note that there's also big incentives, an extension and an expansion of the combined heat and power incentives as well. You can receive at a minimum, you have to clear certain hurdles on the labor front, but you can get a 30% investment tax credit for combined heat and power, and that can increase to 50% with additional steps that people can take. So it's a very substantial opportunity, but it only exists for 2 years. It expires at the end of 2024, although there are mechanisms that people can use to expand it. But then I think it's important indication that this is all on the electricity side. It converts over to a tax incentive for zero emission electricity production. And so the issue that is in front of those of us in the US is then how do we make the case that various fuels that could be combusted in CHP systems should qualify for that. So that's part of the discussion that's underway now. But I think it's an interesting indication of the kind of thing we're likely to see going forward, that yes, there's an incentive in the short term because CHP delivers short-term emission reductions, but then there's a real focus on the fuels that we're combusting and an incentive to try to move that over towards zero emissions. So I think that's going to be a big driver in the US, in addition to what he said about hydrogen. I completely agree with all of that. But I think that's going to be a driver in the short term for sure in the United States.
Thank you, David. Just on the COGEN Europe side of things, Alexander did not mention in her presentation, but we are still finalizing the COGEN Europe National Snapshot Survey. We're missing a few countries, as I alluded to in the Q&A segment, some big countries like Italy, which represent anywhere between 7 and 9%. We hope to share those results early next year. Also waiting for the Eurostat to publish their latest statistics. As you saw, the latest that we have, at least in Europe, goes to 2019. There's usually a 2-year delay in terms of collecting and publishing those statistics. So hopefully we can get the 2020 statistics and make them available in 2023. But that's just the way things work, at least from a statistical point of view. So all that information will be made available next year. From a COGEN Europe perspective. We're not getting any more questions via the chat function, and that's fine. I don't know whether any of the other panelists want to react to what they've heard already. David has, from the US perspective. If not, then I will actually take this opportunity just to thank again everyone, in particular Simon Menet, for pulling together and presenting those global market trends for cogeneration. This is something that CWC will be doing on an annual basis, so look out for an invite, marketing email coming from CWC next fall in 2023, where we'll present an updated version of that global report, and we'll bring together different parties from around the world to present their perspectives from their countries or regions. Also look out on this new webinar channel, the COGEN World Talks, we will hope to organize more webinars next year, focusing on different countries and different regions, trying to give a flavor of cogeneration around the world, and in particular looking at emerging markets and how those trends are moving forward, and really looking at the potential for investing in CHP around the world. As we've seen this morning, this afternoon, this evening, depending where you are, the US and I think the European market is quite mature, and there is still a lot of potential for growth there in those different markets. Asia is moving quite quickly ahead, with China as being the real driver for growth in terms of CHP. But there's, of course, as you saw from Simon's presentation, there's still a lot of potential for CHP, and then I think in particular in Africa, it's a very small market, but there is, of course, a lot of potential for CHP as those countries and the continent continues to in its journey of development. And then finally, of course, in South America and in particular in Brazil, they've taken quite a different path in terms of already having a very decarbonized energy market, heat and electricity, many thanks to the sugarcane and other forms of biomass that is being utilized very efficiently with CHP in Brazil. So a very interesting, very unique market, and hopefully, possibly even replicable in other markets. And we thank you for that, Newton. So I think with that said, I want again to thank all of our speakers and panelists. We will make everything available in the coming days and weeks. We'll put it on the website, and everyone will have access to the presentations and slides. So thank you again for everyone chiming in. We had close to, I think, 90 participants at any one given time from around the world. So we really did have people from the US, from South America, a lot of participants from Europe, but also participants from Asia. So for those of you joining from Asia, thank you for taking the time in your evenings to join us. I hope you found it useful, and we look forward to continuing to bringing together this global community and their interest in cogeneration. And we're very happy to have CWC, the COGEN World Coalition, as a platform to share this information with everyone, and bringing together members who are passionate about promoting CHP as an energy efficiency solution. So thank you again, and look out for more news coming from CWC.